One of the predominant questions I get from product managers is, Hari, how do I manage my revenue loops in my AI product? It's not an easy answer, but there is a certain amount of effort which is required for us to understand how actually AI products work. How do you derive the value of AI products? And overall, we also need to understand what is the amount of funding we are putting into our product and how we can closely monitor to bring these things together. So, in a way, if you ask me, before AI, product managers' jobs were a little bit more easier. Now it has increased 100-fold. And that's the objective of this video I wanted to do. So let's get into the details of understanding how you build revenue loops for your AI products. For designing revenue loops in AI products, we need to have an understanding of 5 key aspects. What is the value and what is the value illusion we have from the AI aspect? How do you understand how the loop works? Creating your own loop, measuring and proving your AI value, and last but not the least, as a product manager, how you should look at AI monetization. And through this session, I would want to focus on examples, what we know, and predominantly I'll be using Claude. It's much more easier to understand. So let's start with looking at what is the value illusion. Now, fundamentally, you need to understand a couple of things. How do we derive value from the AI product which you are building? The first one is the efficiency part. When you look at efficiencies, we need to understand what the consumer or the user is willing to pay for your product. The second one is insightful. How insightful is your AI product for the consumer, which is nothing but the depth. This is where we say it's a medium level of intensity when people start using AI as a product. The third thing is autonomy, right? Are you replacing a job end to end? And this is a very high willingness to pay aspect. Not all AI products as on date are 100% autonomous. Yes, there are few which are very high intensity products, but majority of the products what you see are not end to end. Even if you see uh, Claude Code or Cowork or things like that, when you give a command, it does the entire job. But end of the day, you will need to do your editing before you get what the result is out. Or if you don't want to edit, you can still work with the prompt properly and do it. And that's a different topic of conversation, the prompt engineering. But I'm not getting into it right now. So these are the three things what you need to understand. How much of AI am I using? Is it useful, insightful? How deep is the conversation with the consumer? And how insightful is your product, which is giving out the solution? And last but not the least, the highest willingness to pay from a consumer will come when it replaces end to end, which will take time for you to pay. Now, when you look at the pricing models for AI, predominantly, there are 4 ways. One is per seat, which is what we use today, most of the AI products. Even if you look at Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity or Copilot, anything, you pay per seat, right? A certain amount which you're paying per seat for using the services. The second is usage based. I'm not going to charge on per seat, but how much ever you use, you pay and get your job done. The third is the outcome based, right? I'm not going to charge you for anything, but I will give you an outcome and you pay me based on that. It's not an AI product, but one of the best examples I can give is an online service called Logo Maker. You can sign up for free, you can create your logo, you can do a lot of things on that. The moment you want to download, that's when it asks you to pay the subscription fee. And the subscription fee is for month or annual if you want to pay. And during this time, how many ever designs you make, you can download. But once the subscription expires, you can't download anything, and you can't. There's no point in doing the screenshot because you need the SVG file. That's why you spend time creating your logo or whatever it is on their website. So it's a classic example of outcome based. And the last is nothing but the value share. How much of an value I'm trying to create out of my product to the end user. Okay. Now, before you embark on the journey of building AI, first you need to understand what your idea is, what your product is, or what your organization's product is, and how you are going to structure the value and the pricing part. Moving on to the next one, how do you create the value loop? And that is understanding how AI revenue loop works. The first step is usage. User interacts with your product, gets the required outcome, and things like that. The second part is the signal, which is interactions generate high value data. When I ask a question or when I'm interacting with your product, it starts working in the backend and gives me the required outcomes. And the my input, which is the prompt, will go behind giving the signals to your data sets and get me the answer. The third part is improvement. Now, here we have to detach a little bit as a product manager. Now, what we're talking about improvement is when I have asked a question, which is nothing but the prompt, now the system is working in the backend. The interaction between the system and the data sets to create a meaningful outcome. Correct? Now, as a product manager, you also need to focus on how are you going to capture this interaction, which can be reused for bettering up your data model. Okay. So this is in the backend. The fourth is the outcomes. What is the system telling me and what is it I'm showing it to the end user? All right. And the last but not the least is how I'm generating the revenue. So these are the five key aspects of designing your revenue loop. Let's go a little bit more detail. How Claude's model works. And I wanted to take this example because most of us use Claude and or ChatGPT or Perplexity or anything. And we need to understand how it works. So let me take the same example, the five aspects of the revenue loop, and explain how it works with Claude. So when you look at the usage part, there are different ways. One is you have a Claude app and you subscribe to it, you're interacting with it, you're getting your answers. All these things are happening. The second is, we use their APIs to integrate into our system, right? And the third part is the corporates and enterprise. They use they all data is there, and they use Claude's reasoning models to work with their employees to get better outcomes. Now, when it comes to signal, how they look at it is the conversation quality flags. uh, I know it's a public video, but if you start using abusive words on any AI platform, they have flags for those words. And they would want to understand what prompted the user to use these abusive words. And you can try them for fun just to see how it reacts. But conversation quality flags, this is very, very important because the outcome of your prompt depends on the quality of the prompt you write. That means you need to know what you're asking the AI and what's it responding. And when you're building an AI product, you need to keep in mind various ICPs, right? Yours can be a product which everybody can use. People who know tech, don't know tech, or they just like WhatsApp, everybody can use it. So in that, your conversational quality flags will be a little bit more higher. Now, if you look at somebody, a developer or a technology enthusiast or somebody, that conversation is different. You look at a researcher, that conversation is different. If you're looking at the enterprise, the conversation is different. So you need to design your flags accordingly to ensure you capture the right kind of information for your model to better up. And the next aspect is how do you look at reinforced human learning, right? And how are you learning from the user input into your system, and how are you interacting with your data model to build your product or better your product up. And the last but not the least is also how many times the task was not completed because for various reasons it took some more time or the question was more deeper. All these things. I don't know how many of you have experienced, but I've experienced quite a few times where Claude says, like the question is too long or it goes too much, you want me to continue. And when you say continue, it continues to research and give you the answer. So there might be situations in your product where you might just want to confirm with the user if you want to continue doing the task. Otherwise, you're just wasting the entire resource flow, right? So all these aspects are the responsibilities of product manager. Anyway, I will summarize this at the end. The next is the improvement part. How are you improving your data model using all these as parameters? The better is your model. Actually, people will use your product a little bit more frequently, and you also can give a lot more outcomes out of it. And the way you look at learning from user inputs, that also becomes very important. Safety layer is something very common across all products. So I will leave it to you as a product manager. What are the things you need to take care? And the fourth aspect is better outcomes. How can you give more accurate and faster responses to the user's input? That's one key area. If somebody is giving you detailed information, how are you going to act upon that? Many a times we ask questions like a question, hey, what is the total population of the world? Right? It's a very generic and just a question. But if you want to go, somebody wants to understand what is the population of India, specifically Karnataka, specifically Hassan, specifically Bangalore, in Bangalore, specifically, let's say, N0, right? This person is giving you so many instructions, multiple instructions, and how well is your system reading to give the outcome, right? So you need to address both sides. And at some point, it will become common for your system to understand if the question is coming this way, I need to answer this way. And if the question is coming from this way, I need to answer it this way. And last is revenue. How are you spending for your product to build your product? And how are you going to charge? Uh, how frequently are the interactions with the APIs? And how frequent is the interaction with the backend with your data models? So that, and all these things add up to creating your revenue model. Amount of effort which takes to build is one aspect. You have to factor in your operations costs, your human costs, human capital costs, your infrastructure costs, your go-to-market strategy, your go-to-market skill, approach. All these things also add up, and you need to bring the pricing to that kind of a pricing so that you don't lose money when building AI products. Today, predominantly most of the products are per seat until unless you get to an enterprise level where they talk about tokens. Will this change? It'll change, but it'll take a long time to go. So we need to be very, very careful if really AI is required in the product, or is there anything else you can do to replace it? And after a certain point of time, do you want to start incorporating AI into it? I I mentioned this quite a few times in my sessions. AI is not something which came out yesterday and day before. OpenAI was registered in 2011 as a research organization, and there are many companies in the world or many organizations which have been contributing to the research and understanding of AI and making it more consumer friendly. IBM Watson, for example, which came out in the late 90s, was one of the first AI models, right? But it never went at a B2C level. It remained at a B2B level, right? So we are thinking it just came out in 21, 22. GPT came and it changed the world and everything. But you need to understand there's a lot of effort which went in for the last 10, 20 years for it to come here. So I'm not saying it's going to take next 10, 20 years for it to evolve completely. The speed will increase because the number of users who are interacting and using the AI models is also increasing. So right now, all models are learning. And because there is a cost involved to build these models, products are more costlier and few products are cheaper. But again, if you look at organizations like OpenAI or Anthropic or Microsoft, they are focusing on understanding how people will use the AI models. So they don't mind burning a little bit more cash. But people like you and me as entrepreneurs, we cannot afford a lot of money to burn. So we need to ensure, if not profitability, you need to break even quickly so that you sustain and then you enhance your product, and the revenue starts flowing in. The compounding moat is what I call the three aspects for an AI product manager to keep in mind. What is your proprietary signal? What is your short improvement cycle? And what is your visible compounding? Right. When you go deeper into building your product, one thing is very important, and this is where uh, I try, when I talk to entrepreneurs and when I talk to people who have ideas wanting to build products, identify your value proposition as early as possible. And when I talk about the value proposition, if you look at your product and consumer, and the middle part is the value proposition. What am I getting by using the product? And for what am I paying for to get the service out of you? Right? The quicker you can identify your proprietary signal, the faster you can focus on enhancing your value proposition so that people understand it better and use your product better. There are quite a few exercises which I tend to use and many people tend to use to understand and define value proposition. So, what are your short improvement cycles? Now, the key aspect is you keep seeing ChatGPT, or I mean, like Claude or Copilot, they keep releasing versions. Now, it depends on how quickly you want to keep enhancing your uh, model, right? Few people do weekly, few people do monthly, few people do quarterly, few people do once in 6 months, right? Nobody is at the 1 year time frame now. That depends on what problem are you solving through your AI product. So if it's a very crucial one, even if you look at Anthropic or OpenAI, they release once in a month or probably once in 6 weeks time cycle. Even though there is whole world is using their products, they're doing it in that cycle. But there are also products who do weekly. So what happens is, the more frequent is your improvement cycle, the more effort you have to make in understanding the input, output, and the interactions and how you're building it. So identify what's your improvement cycle. It can be short, it can be long, whatever it is, you need to identify your improvement cycle. And when we talk about visible compounding, that's where it changes, right? So, for example, if you use a free version of ChatGPT or Claude, the kind of answers you get is very different. They still are on the base first models, and at times they give you a try for the next one. But if you get to the next um, level, next tier of payment, which is $20, what we all pay, that interaction is very, very different. The answers are a little bit more, in depth. And also, it will give you options to choose which model you want. And the highest tier, the $200 tires, or the topmost and top, these can use a combination of models. You can define how your AI app can interact, I mean, can use the models to give you better outcomes. The answers keep changing. Mostly we are at the ground level layer, but I know people who exhaust even the $200 subscription they have per month. So because they build amazing products with them and they know people are using it, and they have to consistently improvise that. So as a product manager, you need to look at all these things before you go on to define your revenue strategy. What are the key design decisions every product manager should make? What is your atomic signal strength or event? What is that one interaction which makes your product very different and unique from others. This is one thing you need to realize. Okay. What does your outcome, where does your outcome label come from? Right. And is it working? Is the consumer happy? Are they interacting more, asking more questions, or they're terminating their questioning after you give an answer? So that's one key aspect. Who owns the full loop? Now, this becomes an interesting conversation. Predominantly in any organization, we have teams. You have the development team, you have the testing team, you have the sales team, you have the finance team, legal team, HR team. But when you are building AI products, it is highly recommended that the product manager should have a view of all the teams together, and there is a reason. um, if the product manager is not having the umbrella view of all the teams who are working on the product, then they tend to miss key aspects, right? For example, let's say I run the product team, the engineering and the testing team, and the sales team, right? Now I'm building the product and I'm spending the money. They've given me a budget. I've finished the budget. Now I'm going back to the finance team and saying I need more budget. Now the guy will say, dude, I have given you all the money. There is no more to spend on your product. So you have to figure out what to do. Then it becomes a reverse engineering. So, hey, what should I cut? What should I keep? And things like that. Instead, if the from day one, if I have the insights into the amount of money which is coming in, how much revenue the product is generating, the sales aspect of it, and everything, then I'll have a full control of what I can spend and where I can cut and where I can improve upon. So in AI products, it is very important for an organization to have one person look at all the aspects so that they can control the loop. Now, if you are an aspiring product manager, I highly recommend you spend time understanding the finance or the sales or engineering and testing. I mean, definitely you're a developer or a tester who have become a product manager. But if you are an aspiring product manager, it is very important for you to note that you need to understand, and that differentiates you from the competition of product managers. What is your improvement cycle time? How fast can you learn with your user interactions? So, how good is your reinforcement human learning algorithm? How fast can you bring those learnings into your model so that the outcome becomes better? How does a product communicate its learning? Right now, product is learning, fantastic. How are you communicating it? That also becomes very important. How is the model communicating back? That also is very important, because end of the day, you need to tell the user what they're looking for. And does the pricing capture the loop's value? So when you look into the cost of everything, and users are using your product, you're generating revenue. Are you justifying the 100 rupees or $100 spend on the product for the revenue what you're generating? That's okay in the initial days. If you're spending $100 and you're getting only $50, that's okay. But you need to have a plan to get surpass that to a break even point and start generating more revenue so that you can invest back. The three questions I, I keep asking ideators or people who have ideas to build AI products is three levels of so what. The simplest of the examples I can take is um, I, just for discussion purposes. Hey, I have a Maps app. Okay, so what? Google also has. No, no, my maps can tell you what is the exact time which you will take based on the speed of the car and traffic and things like that to reach the certain point. That's okay. So what? Google Maps also does that. No, no, my maps also will tell you where there are signals and everything. So what? I mean, even Google Maps tells me. Those are three levels. I mean, this is the basic one just to explain the whole concept of so what. If you think you have more so what's, keep drilling down until you get to the bottom of it, how your product is differentiated from the remaining products in the market. And if somebody is telling you there is nothing like this in the world, I mean, honestly, I don't believe it, because um, predominantly there is another similar kind of an idea somewhere working, right? So, or people are thinking about it. So please go drill down at least to three levels of so what's uh, before investing in building your AI product. Or if you're a product manager, AI product manager going into a new organization and going to be the product manager of that, even there in your learning cycle, please include as many so what's so that you understand the product better and you can contribute better. How do you measure and prove the AI value what your product has? You have to prove economic value, outcome impact, task completion, and input quality. When you look at the economic value, what is the impact, what is the cost, what is the saving, what is the risk averted, and all these things come into picture. If you look at the outcome impact, was the I mean, when I say deal closed or ticket resolved. So, for example, if you're using AI model or for somebody to log a feature or a defect in your product, or for whatever the product has been built, how fast can the your solution solve the problem, right? How fast are you closing the deal? If it's a simple AI, I mean, if you're talking about if you talk about any of these prompts, which is ChatGPT or OpenAI or anything, how fast are you able to complete your work and move to the next? That's deal closed, right? How many questions are you asking? Or if you asked one question, the answer and you implemented it, that's fantastic. What is the AI output accepted and acted on, right? What uh, there is a question you're asking. There is a response which is given by the AI tool, and was it accepted and implemented, or if it is not, it's terminated, right? So that also makes a very important economic value. And what is the prompt quality? Now, prompt quality is something which is not in our hands, but you can estimate the prompt quality based on the user base who are none other than your ICP. Okay. So based on that, you can define your input quality and look at how, so you can plan better. So why all these conversations are coming is prompt is like 3-4 characters. I mean, you're spending about $2 to $3 for an input and $15 for output and for each prompt. And prompt is like, again, you can't translate back into tokens, right? So up to a million tokens, $2 to $15 input and output cost, and a prompt is basically 4-5 characters. So you have to do this math, and there is no sidelines to it. You need to understand that aspect as a product manager. Now, what metrics you should focus on as a AI product manager? Time to value, task deflection rate, quality lift score, cost per outcome, and loop cycle time. These are the key metrics of an AI product manager. If you go back to SaaS days, it's different. I mean, time taken to respond, server response time, server uptime, server downtime, all these were the metrics in the SaaS model. But for an AI product, these are the key things what you need to look at. How do you turn your AI investment into revenue? You own the loop. There is no second aspect of conversation to that. Unless you own the loop, you cannot give the optimal outcome as a product manager. Win the pricing fight. The more deeper you go and understand the costing from the low up to build your product, that is when you can build. You can win the pricing battle. Otherwise, you can't. Generically, you can't. Okay, I'm building a product. I'll keep $10 because, for example, let's say India is a price sensitive market, so I can't go over 10. That is not an answer. If you have the value, India is willing to pay. And there are a lot of products in the world which are cheaper outside than in India. We pay a lot more than many other subscribers. But anyway, that's not the point of the conversation. What I'm saying is the more detail you understand, the deeper you go and understand how much you're spending in building your product, that's when you win the pricing battle. You cannot win the pricing battle when you are looking at your competition and saying, I want to play in this area to be safe side, I'll have more subscribers. No. The last is your 90-day plan. You have to have a 90-day plan for your product at any given point of time. For example, today you have a 90-day plan. let's say today is 27th of April, uh, 26th of April, for the matter of fact, and April to May, June, July. So 25th of July, you have a 90-day plan. On 27th, you need to have plan till 26th of July. So, as a product manager, if you can get to that level of visibility of your product, trust me, you are going to build an amazing AI product. And second, you will be an amazing AI product manager. So, these are the key aspects. And before I end, just wanted to summarize everything. You design it, you own it, and you compound it. So again, I'm saying the product manager of the past is very different. The AI product manager is very different. You need to have understanding of operations. You need to understand human capital. You need to understand sales. You need to understand all these as legalities, right? There's another session which we have to do separately, but legality, all these things putting together, that's when you can own it. By the way, I do this session a little bit more deeper. My upcoming sessions will be on my website or on maven.com. I'll give all the links. And yes, I do an in depth 4-hour workshop on this, working with individual product managers, sharing the templates and how. And at the end of the 4 hours, yes, it might be surprising, but end of the 4 hours, you will walk away with a 90-day plan for your product. All right. If you're interested, subscribe to my channel and keep an eye on my website and my Instagram. All links are below. Thank you.